This is an account of how a series of decisions taken between 1984 and the present day have ruined the lives of the best workers of a public body, and how the workers have been ignored and left to their fate by the point-blank refusal of every public official to even hear their story, let alone help them. Indeed, every authority, every person in authority, has ignored what I say here, and this is my attempt to give the matter maximum publicity. My name is Paul Crooks and I'm a dyke cleaner. This is me working here. I've worked for Selby Area Internal Drainage Board, a public body, for 43 years. We are making this film to highlight the way in which ordinary people in menial jobs can be denied a fair hearing by every government authority in what amounts to state censorship. Most people, even those who don't work very hard, get a wage increase every year. But the people who do the job that you'll see here have had their pay cut in every year since 1984. For the past 14 years, I have asked the people who manage our employment why this has happened to us and who authorised it, but no one will answer. And worse yet, no one in any kind of authority or influence will make them answer. The only sign of hope in all of these years came when a local councillor joined the board which employs us and protested our situation. This, amazingly enough, resulted in me, alone amongst all of the workers, being asked repeatedly and in writing to put in a claim. But to this day, no one in board management will say what party offered this claim and why, and all those in any kind of power, even those whose bounden duty it is to act to ensure probity, will only say, "This is not our business." All of this, on the face of it, seems impossible in this day and age, but if you stay with me, I'll explain just how people can be treated like the serfs of old, even in the present day. There have always been three groups of workers in the pay of the board. These are the management, the weekly paid workers, and us as piece workers, who do all of the board's hardest work. I myself work as you see here, but in all weather conditions. We as piece workers receive no holiday pay, sick pay, pension rights or any other benefits. We are just paid for what we do. Given fair treatment and proper consideration, this arrangement is satisfactory for all, but when this failed us, it became a nightmare. When I began work for the board in 1974, a piece worker such as myself was paid £1 to clean out one chain, that's 22 yards of dyke, such as you'll see here, and a weekly paid man's basic wage was £18 per week. At that time, all workers received the annual staff cost of living wage award. So, when my life in the dykes began, I had to clean out 18 chains of dyke to earn the weekly basic wage. From 1974 to 1984, although inflation was at its height, all workers enjoyed the same annual cost of living wage increase. In 1984, however, we as piece workers were told by the board's foreman, our only contact with management, that for us, annual cost of living pay rises were a thing of the past, even though the board's management and the weekly paid workers would continue to enjoy these benefits. No reason was given, and we were told to take it or leave it. At the time, we were earning a reasonable wage, were on a minute's notice, and just did not know how this could be happening to us. Self-employed people had, and still have, very few rights. Because we were powerless, we had to take it. And the result of this was that, from 1984 to 2003, we were allowed only 5 miserable wage increases, paid at random intervals, whilst for all of this time, management and weekly paid workers continued to enjoy the annual cost of living wage increase. These meagre offerings caused us, by 2003, to be almost pauperised. This can be best illustrated by saying that, whereas in 1984 a piece worker needed to clean out 18 chains of dyke to earn the basic wage, by 2003 the amount of chains needed to earn this basic wage had risen to an incredible 44. When I finally complained of all this in 2003, the leave it part of the take it or leave it warning of the foreman came to fruition, in that in a matter of weeks, we, the piece workers, were put from our work at only 2 days' notice. The board's management blamed the Inland Revenue, who said that we could no longer be self-employed. We were then put out of work for what was to be 9 months. I used these 9 months to attempt to contact all overview authorities, all people in power, but although a few crocodile tears were shed, all said that this was the board's business entirely. Even when I explained that the essence of my complaint was that the board, as a legal entity, could not know of its own business, and said why, my concerns fell on deaf ears. When I contacted the Chancellor of the Exchequer, however, he caused a reversal of the Revenue's decision and, amazingly enough, we were allowed back to work and could once again enjoy the cost of living wage award. So, we were put out of work in 03, then put back in work in 04 without any reason having been given. To add insult to injury, because of these 19 years of wage freeze, our wage rates were, and still are, pegged to those of the 1980s. No one will speak of this, let alone investigate it. What price natural justice? By this time, I could be certain that the board did, and still doesn't, know of its own business, because our bizarre treatment between 84 and 03 couldn't be reduced to any contract form for the board to consider at the annual board meetings between 1984 and 2003. Logic alone decrees that no group of rational people would vote to give their best workers just 5 meagre pay awards in 19 years, whilst voting every year to pay management and weekly paid workers the annual pay increase. Fortunately, we do not need to rely on common sense, as 12 board members, finance committee members included, have told me openly that they have always believed that all workers always receive the annual pay award. As if in confirmation of the board's ignorance, the minutes view, as supplied by the board's clerk to the district auditor, tells us that from 1982 to 2003 no minuted record of any pieceworker treatment was made. Who, then, authorised the pieceworkers' treatment from 1984 to 2003? This is a question which no one will answer. The board's management, which according to the rules of natural justice should have provided us with a proper, reasoned explanation of our treatment, decided instead to ask me, as the only worker to contest this matter, to put in a claim against the board. Why would anyone do this rather than just tell everyone the truth? Why offer me, as the workers' only spokesman, a claim whilst ignoring all of the workers? Why will no one in power anywhere in England back me in having these questions answered? Most pertinent of all, if we had always been properly treated, then what would there be to claim for? So, over 14 years of constant rejection by those in power, I have had to help myself, and have now reduced all of this matter to the asking and answering of one question. This is, what party asked me to claim and why? As to answer this question would have to be to explain that, in fact, it refers to our discriminatory treatment of 84 to date. No one will ask it, so no one has to answer it. All those in power only need to keep quiet, and all of this will go away. I know nothing of YouTube or how I may be helped by it. All I can hope is that someone will see this and help me in some way. I began to approach all authorities continuously in 2003 with what I believe is the compelling evidence as above. No one, even those with the most obvious responsibility for what has gone on here, will reply in any way. Any mention of this matter is taboo for all in power. This has thus become a matter of old ditch digger versus ostrich state. No one in power wants to get anyone else in power into any kind of trouble over the matter of a few old labourers, but in this they also ignore the right of the board to know of its own business from 1984 to date. This makes the board the most important victim in all of this. Who, then, will help both board and workers to know the truth for the first time in 33 years? All of you pay my wages. I ask you to look at this and to consider how it is possible for a man who works like this to be given no cost of living wage award for 19 years and for his wage rates to now be pegged to those of the 1980s whilst being asked to take money by a person or persons who insist on remaining unknown. If you stayed with me for the past 10 minutes, I thank you for your perseverance. Anything you don't understand, please contact my email at paulcrooks112@gmail.com and I'll be pleased to explain further. Goodbye for now, Paul.